This is Dr. David Allen coming to you on the television program, People Helping People. Tonight our guest is a very distinguished person, the pastor of New Providence, Providence Community Church, Matthew Sweeting. New Providence Community Church is a church with a difference. And in some sense, they look down the barrel of Hurricane Dorian. Hurricane Dorian was a game changer for the Bahamas. Let us never forget that. You know, we can rebuild some houses, but rebuilding people's lives is going to be very, very difficult. We're in for a long run. There's no point denying it. We've got to roll up our sleeves and get to work. And right from day one, Pastor Sweeting and his team in New Providence Community Church have been active. He's here tonight just to share with you what it's been like for him to stare down the barrel of this powerful hurricane which came to kill, to destroy, and to maim and affect our culture. Pastor, welcome.
Thank you so much, and good evening, Bahamas.
What was it like staring down the barrel of that dangerous gun called Hurricane Dorian?
You know, this has been a storm. I heard people say a few weeks ago that this was the worst storm in the modern history of our country, and I think that's how a lot of people feel. You know, we've heard about storms before in the past from our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, and I think maybe the challenge for our day and time is those storms have fallen out of memory. We don't know, many of us, what it was like to live in the Bahamas at that time, and I certainly think that we will never forget as a country this storm. This challenged us on every possible level, you know, and what really gets us out of bed every morning is just keeping hope alive in this country. It's amazing to see the amazing amount of solidarity, of love, of kindness. It seems that we have rekindled in our country what it means to be your brother's keeper and your sister's keeper. And it's amazing, you know, I love how we do that as Bahamians.
And how did you as a pastor, with the others I know, organize your approach to face this terror facing the country?
What's helped us always is for the last 18 years, we have been practicing, so to speak, disaster management. 18 years ago, we built a hurricane shelter instead of a sanctuary, and we felt with the vision of our founding pastor, Clint Kemp, that this is what the country was going to need for the future. And it seems that that was so prophetic because for the last 18 years, we have used that building every single year just to bring hope and help to our fellow man in this country. And so when this storm came, we had a facility that was designed from the ground up to respond to a disaster such as this. Now, historically, we've always been a hurricane shelter, so once we get the heads up from NEMA, everyone's getting ready the night before, and then you have the day of the storm, and by that time, everyone's in our facility, the doors are locked. We generally have the police with us, we have NEMA representatives, we have Defense Force, sometimes we have Red Cross, and we also have social services. And we've had 18 years to get to know these individuals. We know each other on pretty much on a first name basis. And it's been amazing over the last 2 decades, building a platform, a foundation, if you will, that we now believe allows us to respond to these modern storms. And so our systems were in place, our relationships were intact, and our resources were being funneled to respond in a very real way, but in a very contextual way as well. And I think that's what allowed us to be ready.
When did you spring into action?
This particular storm, you know, was very interesting. We were listening to the reports on TV. It seems like perhaps maybe some of the telephone lines and the electrical lines were the first to go down in Abaco, but we were getting reports on our smartphones through Facebook, through various forms of social media, and we started hearing that our friends and our family and our citizens in Abaco were in trouble. And in the middle of the storm, I remember getting 2 texts in particular, both from 2 individuals who sit on our board of directors, and they both asked me a question I did not have the answer for at the time, and the question is, what are we going to do for the people of Abaco? And the storm, by now, we knew this was very serious. It's going to take a national response, and we had to figure out pretty quickly what this would look like from our part, because as we said, you know, we've always done shelter management. Perhaps God was taking us in a very different direction. By the following day, we were able, with the help of a number of people from all over New Providence, to actually put a working model together where for the first time we said, why don't we take a stab at doing distribution? As soon as the storm passes Abaco, we knew it was going to Grand Bahama. As soon as it passes that island as well, we have to galvanize all the resources we all have at our disposal, from people to food to medical supplies to transportation. We have to galvanize that and get everybody, all hands on deck, utilized as quickly as possible. And that is what we decided to do. We had never tried this before. We never tried to take, hundreds or thousands of Bahamians or people who live in our country to say, what do you have? Do you have a boat? We need that. Do you have gasoline or diesel? We need that. Do you have a warehouse? Do you have a truck? And by the second day, this thing came together very quickly. And I think I would like to say, as a way of gratitude, I'd like to thank organizations like Head Knowles, because what they do extremely well is they bring large numbers of people together. And that's not the experience that we had. We were shelter management. They came into our facility by the next day and they helped us train people real time. Hundreds of people were getting trained by the end of the week because we started to receive so many donations, and we used platforms like social media just to put the word out. Here's what we're going to do together to help our country, and that's how it got started.
So you collected everything and you had them transported to the islands through boats and planes?
Yeah, initially, the first thing we had to figure out is how do we get the donations? And one thing that we've learned, and we learned this 2 years ago with Hurricane Irma, is that, this old idea of 6 degrees of separation. If you know 6 people, they also know 6 people who know 6 people, and somehow we're all connected to each other just through 6 relationships. And so we told our friends who told their friends. Head Knowles reached out to their network. Rotary told all Rotarians, and all of a sudden this thing just mushroomed into this massive informal network bound by love for the Bahamas and the desire to respond to the greater good. And that's why I think this thing just went out of control in the best sense of the word. We saw so much response. We had wholesale companies calling us all around New Providence. We have tuna, we have corned beef, we have water. All the water companies called, the hotels started to call. And within a relatively short period of time, we were not only able to get the word out there of what we needed, but we had all these people, all this expertise on the ground. And some people say, I own airplanes, or I fly airplanes, or I have a lot of friends, we own our own boats. If someone will give us the diesel or the gas, you can use our boat to get it there. And that's how we did it. And it just really, what I've learned in hindsight, it's the type of revolution that doesn't need a lot to get going. It's just people who know people. And you call your friend. You tell your friend, says, this is something worth giving to. Will you partner with us in saving our country during this time?
So as a church then, you were sending out boats, sending out airplanes, collecting stuff, training people. How did you manage to put that all together?
Sometimes I still don't know the answer to that question because, to me it was an act of God. The way that it came together so effortlessly, it proved to me something I've always believed ever since I was a little boy, and that is when you come together, it takes a village. When you come together and everyone gets involved, it's so much easier. And the one thing we decided is this cannot get political. What I mean by that is we can't fight with each other. We can't get in each other's way. We just have to say.
Although, Pastor, when you're working with a lot of Bahamian people,
oh my gosh,
that's not easy, right?
It was not easy. It was not easy.
There are personality differences, there are
man,
political differences, there are church differences. What was it like for you to pull all these people together, white, black?
You know what? This was
Christian,
easy.
non-Christian.
Yeah. This was easy and this was hard. It was easy because everybody wanted to help. It was hard because no one's ever worked together before. Everybody knew of these agencies or these organizations, but that doesn't mean they actually worked or had the privilege of working side by side. And, by the end of the week, Dr. Allen, we had like thousands of people and hundreds of companies and dozens of agencies trying to just work together. And I think maybe the one thing we were able to do is just find the people in our country who are really good at organizing. Some people, that's, it's effortless for them.
It's a gift.
It's a gift. They have it. You don't have to teach them that. And we said to them, can you come into this building with us? We have all these trucks, all these boats, all these airplanes and helicopters. We even had yachts. that, you know, expats own and keep at the marinas. And they said, you can use our yachts, just fuel them up. And everybody wanted to help, but somebody needed to organize them. And we had these people who were like, you know, in the ancient world, they called them the Jethro character. They come in and they say, I will put this together for you. We will show you how to organize this, not only in terms of getting people to work together, but how do you get this volume of resources off the island on a daily basis? And so everyone in our country that understood shipping inherently, they said, why don't you let us handle the logistics of all the boats and the yachts? And all the people who worked at the airport says, why don't you let us handle aviation? You know, and then people who run warehouses around our country says, we will come in and we will show you how to take that much volume, get it off the back of a truck.
Because one time the whole sanctuary was filled with stuff, right?
We stripped everything out the building and just filled it with people and goods. Every single room, with exception to the broom closet, had a separate agency or team in it, and that's really what we try to do. We offer our building as a conduit where an organization has their own room with Wi-Fi, access to food, technology, and other people who are like-minded. They said, you guys figure this problem out for us. You go to the next room, they're trying to figure out clothing. You go to one room, they're trying to figure out who's going to house all these people. We had all these school teachers and Rotarians come to us, says, we know how to do spreadsheets. Why don't you let us keep all the records? Because we knew that we had to prove to people, we know exactly down to every tin of corned beef and tuna how much we were given. And it took a village to make this happen. And I am so humbled to see the power of people when they want to do something for their fellow man. So it wasn't easy, but it was easy because people wanted to help. And it wasn't hard, but it was hard because we never worked together before. And every color, every persuasion, every political party, every denomination and background just showed up. And we said, you know what? We have a privilege. This is a defining moment for us as Bahamians. We're going to look back at this moment not only because of how bad the storm was. We're going to remember that this was the moment we came together and we actually did something about it. And that has so much power that it gets people out of bed. They came as early as sometimes 5 a.m., 6 a.m., staying till midnight, till 1 o'clock in the morning because the need was so great. People were not checking their watches. We'd have mothers who'd leave us, pick up the kids from school, bring the kids back from school, and tell their boys and their girls, now you start packing boxes.
Pastor, it's almost like you met Hurricane Dorian with hurricane help. Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting that you had this massive hurricane, and then you had this massive organization of planes and boats and people and resources, and you were the guy who was the symphony conductor. I was just absolutely amazed.
Well, ever since I've been a little boy, I don't do everything very well, but I know how to organize. I used to drive my siblings crazy because every couple of weeks I would take our bedrooms and totally reorganize them. Every business I've worked for in the last 30 years, no matter what I was hired to do, I would organize my employer's business and restructure that for him. I just love to organize. You know, but what I really love is I love seeing people who discovered they are powerful and capable of doing something that's truly great. And that's what we see, you know, it's what, 10 or 11 weeks later, and on a daily basis, we still get to see great things happen, long after the storm is gone. So it has been amazing. It's been truly amazing, Dr. Allen.
It's very humbling to hear all this because Dorian was massive. I was on the television with Darrell Miller. We saw it coming. Miller won the keys, but as I saw the thing get bigger and bigger, and then one fear I had was if you move south, she was heading to Nassau.
Yes.
I remember that night, Saturday night, I prayed, got up 3 in the morning, and I knew this was a little turn, a bit more to the north, and by Sunday morning, even though I knew Abaco and Freeport was on the way, I felt Nassau would be safe. And that meant a lot to me because I realized if you destroy the capital,
what's going to happen?
We're in trouble.
Yes.
We're going to take a break and be right back.